Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, Nick is here at the attendance with me once more because today we're going to be going through our Friday Night SmackDown recap from this past Friday's episode of SmackDown. This is the 28th of November edition of the show, so we're going to break everything down. This is just before Survivor Series, so the go-home show, and we'll discuss everything that took place across the course of the night and just go into it in a little bit of detail. So, first and foremost, we're going to kick things off with what would start off the night, and that would be the latest match in the Last Time Is Now tournament, and that would see Jey Uso go one-on-one with Rusev. This is the first of the quarter-final matches, and a chance for one of these two to progress on to the semi-final. And I think when you put these two on paper, you think it could be a pretty physical display from Rusev especially, and then you've got Jey Uso who sort of like has to try and like match that sort of I guess energy in this matchup. I don't know about you, Nick, but for me personally, I didn't really enjoy the flow of this one. I thought it was maybe a little bit slow, sluggish. I thought that Rusev maybe had to sort of hold back a bit, during the match. And yeah, I don't know also if maybe the crowd's lack of care came into play here, but generally across the course of the night, I found myself thinking the crowd was pretty damn quiet. So I think that did play a little bit of a part maybe here in my enthusiasm levels for this matchup, unfortunately, because, you do try to enjoy everything you can, but this one for me was kind of a struggle, so I didn't really like it too much. Jey Uso does get the victory in the end over Rusev as well. He got out of the accolade and managed to find his way to the ropes, and then he would hit a spear followed up by a Uso splash, typical Jey Uso style, and that would be enough to secure the victory to book his spot in the semi-finals of the Last Time Is Now tournament. He'll face the winner of either LA Knight or a mystery opponent that will be spoken about in just a couple of minutes from us. So yeah, not my favorite match of the tournament by any means necessary, and maybe a little bit of a letdown as well, personally speaking. We went on to our next segment afterwards, which would be Chelsea Green's championship celebration, which was eventually delivered and was promised by Nick Aldis a matter of, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And we finally do get the case to have it right here, right now. Chelsea will basically say, she takes to the ring, basically saying how she's not just the best women's champion in WWE history, but she's also the best women's champion in the United States, as well as the North Americas. Chelsea goes on to say that a very large pyro display will begin soon before she then starts to count down. Once she does get to 1 on her countdown, we instead of a pyro display, we get Jade Cargill coming on down, and to pardon the pun, she pretty much storms to the ring, and she takes out a sort of a strangling Alba Fire, takes her down pretty swiftly and easily, and then turns her attention to Chelsea Green, hits the Jade on her, lays her out in the middle of the ring, and once Jade is out of the ring and sort of like making her way back up the ramp, Chelsea getting back up to her knee sort of thing with Alba Fire right next to her, very frustrated and upset by the situation. Then we do get the promised pyro display for Chelsea Green. So as to where this particular sort of arc is going here, I'm not entirely certain. Essentially, it's just Chelsea saying that she is the greatest women's champion. Jade Cargill disagrees with that and is putting her in a place. But I don't really know what the end goal here is between these two in this story. It doesn't make too much sense to me right now. Maybe it's one of those cases of we'll have to just wait and see what happens. Then we can obviously, figure it out from there. But for now, I'm a little bit lost in the shuffle. I'm not entirely certain what to make of this all. But it was an entertaining segment for what it was. Chelsea Green delivers that in spades anyway, regardless. So, I guess it's quite interesting, just the general dynamic of this one. But Chelsea still sold it pretty well. And, it was a little entertaining, to say the least. We then go into our next match of the night, which would be the other quarterfinal of the Last Time Is Now tournament for this episode of SmackDown, and that would see LA Knight going up against a mystery opponent. And now, just prior to this contest taking place earlier on in the night, we would have Nick Aldis with the sort of like the reel with the balls backstage, and he would have one in his hand. He'd be talking to the Miz. Miz be complaining, saying how it should be him in the matchup because he has such a history with John Cena, this, that, and the other. And as Nick Aldis picks up this ball, R-Truth comes along, sort of distracting him a little bit, I guess you could say, inadvertently, and is talking to him about, his balls and why aren't his balls in there, and he doesn't respect his balls and whatnot. It's all very, it's all very comical stuff. But then, whilst Nick Aldis is distracted, Miz does swap the paper in the ball that Nick Aldis picked out, and he swaps it with one of his own. And lo and behold, a matter of moments later, Nick Aldis reveals that it is The Miz who is going to be in the match against LA Knight. So we go into that match right here, right now. And honestly, it's not a bad contest. It's pretty back and forth. I think both men really had chances to sort of, show what they can do here, bits and bobs. And yeah, in the end, LA Knight just has a little bit too much for the Miz and turns a nice bit of momentum into a BFT, hits that move for the victory, and he progresses on to face Jey Uso, who qualified early on tonight. And that will be the first of the semi-final matches just, come to play there. So, yeah, LA Knight advances. I think definitely the right decision. Kind of disappointed that they went with The Miz. I think they could have gone with literally possibly most other people on the roster. But yeah, I someone who's already lost in the tournament, just taking another loss in the tournament, I don't really see the point in that. So yeah, for me personally, a little bit of a disappointment, but it is what it is, I guess. But the match stuff wasn't too bad. What did you make of our opening first half of SmackDown, Nick? Obviously, we got that first round matchup there. Well, that's that first matchup of the night there between Jey and Rusev. The championship celebration with Chelsea Green ruined by Jade Cargill. And then, LA Knight advancing after defeating The Miz with his second attempt to win a match in this tournament, not quite going his way. How did you make of this first half?
Yeah, definitely giving go home vibes for pretty much the entirety of the show. And this opening match kind of just sets the pace. I would agree with you. I didn't think this match really did much for either guy here. Jay winning obviously ahead of his Survivor Series War Games match probably needed, I guess. I would have preferred Rusev, and I really thought he was going to win after he hit that Machka kick and then locked in the accolade. I did have that feeling that they were going to give him the push there, but alas, that spear and Uso splash kind of turned the tides, and Jay gets the win there to face the winner of the next match we see on just a bit. The Chelsea Green celebration, yeah, finally getting that, and then quickly getting erupted as it started by Jade Cargill, proving that she is not the best champion. So Chelsea wins that title, and then haven't really done much since she's won it. So more of the same for that title, unfortunately. And Jade kind of just, not really doing much other than just showing, everyone, actions speaking louder than words, kind of the persona she's taking on, and I think that's fine. After Survivor Series, hopefully we'll get a clearer picture of a lot of these things going forward. So this being one of many. So, and then in the next match, the last quarterfinal match between The Miz and LA Knight, I agree with you. I think it would have been better served to have someone else other than The Miz get some time. But alas, if they were just going to take a BFT from LA Knight to advance, which is absolutely the right call, then yeah, I guess I'm okay with The Miz as well. And more ball jokes. So, take it or leave it, I guess. But yeah, LA Knight winning there, I think the right call. And LA Knight and Jey Uso, let's all pray to the wrestling gods that LA Knight can get the win there.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say I'll be hoping for the best on that one as well. I'm a little bit concerned, the state of the tournament so far. It's I don't know, not quite vibing with it how I would have wanted to be honest with you, but I guess it is what it is at this point. But alas, we move on to our second half of Friday Night SmackDown, and coming up next, we would have a advantage match for the women of the War Games teams that would be happening at Survivor Series, and this would see Charlotte Flair go one-on-one with Asuka. And not a bad match, to be fair. I think you put these two ladies in the ring, they've got so much history together. I think Michael Cole said actually that the two ladies were tied in this contest going into it. I think it was like 7 each or something, 8 each. I can't remember exactly the number, but yeah, over the course of their their history and their rivalry, all through the years and different moments here and there, the fact that they're both even playing field throughout their history is quite something. So they match each other quite nicely, these two ladies. And in terms of the matchup itself, it was pretty decent. It was exactly what you'd probably expect from these two individuals. And yeah, just a big back and forth, good feeling matchup. I think it was absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I quite liked it, to be fair. In the end, we do see Charlotte Flair pick up the victory here over Asuka, and she would earn advantage for her team for the Women's War Games match. So yeah, obviously very much an important thing going into that matchup. The advantage can be a very big thing. So yeah, obviously you have to see how that plays out at Survivor Series itself. But in terms of this matchup, I enjoyed it, thought it was worth. I liked it, and just gave it a little bit of a sort of like advantageous sort of bragging rights type vibe for Charlotte Flair and the rest of her team going into that War Games matchup. Going into that, then, we would see our main event, which would be a big old match, and it's a Survivor Series 5 vs 5 traditional elimination tag team type of match, and this sees the team of the MFTs So Solo Sikoa and the gang, taking on the team of Sami Zayn, Chris Sabin, and Alex Shelley of the Motor City Machine Guns, Ray Phoenix, and Shinsuke Nakamura. And this one had a pretty nice vibe to it, generally speaking. I think it went pretty straightforwardly. I think if you had a pen and paper, you could probably have jotted down exactly how this one would have went, and it was kind of exactly how that went as well. So let me just run through how the match sort of did flow in the like from start to finish. We see JC Mateo of the MFTs getting eliminated first by Chris Sabin. Comes from a Motor City Machine Gun sort of like pin combination, kind of like a vintage MCMG stuff from them. That would see JC Mateo out of the contest. We then see Tama Tonga come on in and eliminate Shinsuke Nakamura a few moments later after hitting his finisher on Shinsuke. Ray Phoenix would eliminate Tonga Loa moments later via a Hurricane Rana pin, quite nicely done. Before then, we see Talatonga come on in, and he would do the heavy lifting here. He would eliminate Alex Shelley via a chokeslam onto the apron, rolling him into the middle of the ring and then pinning him. And then he would also eliminate Chris Sabin, so both of the Motor City Machine Guns, by then hitting a clothesline onto Chris Sabin to get that elimination. Tama Tonga eliminates Ray Phoenix moments later by again hitting his finisher. Just like I'm not entirely sure what he calls it, sort of like a leaping sort of forearm type slice maneuver. But yeah, he hits that on Ray Phoenix. That gets him out of the contest, which leaves Sami Zayn in a bit of a precarious position. He has to go 3-on-1 against the remaining MFTs. Sami does a good job, though. He eliminates Tama Tonga via hitting the Haluva kick, and then gets Talatonga eliminated via countout on the outside of the ring. There's a bit of an interaction with a barricade on the outside. Sami avoids Talatonga, who's rushing on in. He gets sent over. Sami gets back into the ring, and then just a quick count up from there. Just the referee counting up, I think it's from 8 at that point, up to 9, and up to 10. Then we get Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. Sami's gone through quite a lot at this point and is, probably the less fresh by far out of the two men. And in the end, we see quite a nice back and forth between both men, sort of like throwing back to their previous matches where Sami would take the US title from Solo Sikoa, and like matches around that sort of time. And it would get to a point where Sami gets a very, very close 2 count on Solo Sikoa after a roll up, and then Solo gets back up and then hits a Samoan spike, eliminating Sami Zayn and winning the match for the MFTs. So once Solo Sikoa is in the ring celebrating at the end of the match and at the end of the show, we then see the lights go out. Before you know it, the Fireflies are going all around, and then we've got the wyattsicks standing on the apron, minus Uncle Howdy, who Solo is looking at the wyattsicks originally, and then we see Uncle Howdy actually appear over his shoulder behind him. Solo turns around and then eats the Sister Abigail to end the show. So yeah, it looks like now the wyattsicks are officially coming for the MFTs. They have them in their crosshairs, and after everything that's been taking place, the past number of months, we now can see this come to a proper head. So looking forward to seeing that rivalry come into play now, properly speaking. Should be really good. I'm looking forward to it, because obviously it's been leading to this moment. We've been waiting for it, so this is the time, and it's a nice transition. So this sees Sami and his team put up a valiant effort, but unsuccessfully not getting the win in their sense. They can all move on to other things now, whatever it is that they're going to be doing. And now the MFT's clearly going straight into that feud with the wyattsicks. So yeah, I think job done in that sense. It was a decent main event. So not too bad on that front. What did you make of our second half of SmackDown, Nick? Charlotte gaining advantage for her team in War Games by defeating Asuka, and then obviously, like I just said, then the 5vs5 elimination traditional Survivor Series type matchup with the MFTs winning and the wyattsicks coming back.
Yeah, the rematch of WrestleMania 34, I would argue one of the biggest mistakes in booking history, at least on the women's side. Asuka getting her undefeated streak snapped by Charlotte. You can tell I'm still a bit salty about that. But yeah, cool to see that kind of rematch here. And again, Charlotte getting the better of the two, with Asuka wrongfully green misting one of the camera crew or production crew there, and then Charlotte hitting the natural selection to get the win and get the advantage for her team at Survivor Series. So seeing the heels get the advantage on Monday, now seeing the faces for the women get the advantage on Friday. So I suppose that makes sense, giving a little bit of variety there. With the main event, yeah, so there was a time not that long ago that I think we were we kind of thought that this would be the War Games match at Survivor Series. They were booking this one pretty heavy there for a while. But alas, we still end up getting a bit of a payoff, albeit I think probably a bit of a lesser one. I think obviously, had this one been on the actual Survivor Series event, it probably would have been a better match. But for what we got here, I felt like outside of a few, I don't really think it did anyone a ton of favors. Um, a pretty big reaction, like a boo for Shinsuke. I think it's just people are still kind of unsure of how he fell so hard. But then on the face side, obviously Ray Phoenix obviously had a pretty good showing, and then of course Sami Zayn, who came from a down 1-3 deficit. But outside of them, I would argue that I don't think really anyone were showcased, and no one really walks away from this feeling that much better. You could maybe argue Solo too, but again, by the time he got in, Sammy was pretty gassed. So even that, yeah, I think it could have been better. But again, for a SmackDown episode and for what was a pretty packed show, yeah, I think this was good enough. And I don't think Solo and Sammy are quite done yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Can't imagine Sammy taking the loss after being so close to taking out a large portion of the MFT, which props to Sammy. Clearly, he's being pushed for bigger and better things. But yeah, and then Uncle Howdy making his return along with the Wyatt Six. It's funny to hear you say Wyatt Six going after the MFT when the Wyatt Six still have the tag titles, and kind of feels like a footnote in that whole thing. I'm sure it will be showcased, I would assume, but you could definitely make the case that rivalry could go pretty pretty well without the titles, and kind of help the rest of the what used to be a very thriving division there on the tag team side for SmackDown. So overall, yeah, definitely felt like a go home show for SmackDown. Didn't even get any mention of the men at all, really, outside of the vignette that I feel like we've kind of already seen a few times. It may have been slightly different, but they all kind of run together after a while. But yeah, outside of the main event, just some decent wrestling, but nothing really taking a note of changing the world or anything. So the last match was fun, but outside of that, definitely just kind of run of the mill go home show. I'll give this one a 6 out of 10, and yeah, leave it there. Leave it there, and looking forward to Survivor Series.
Yeah, we tend to be on the same wavelength a lot of the time here, and we definitely are again here today. I also gave the SmackDown a rating of 6 out of 10. I just think that, besides that main event, there wasn't really too much to really highlight here in terms of good stuff going on and, game-changing stuff. It did have a very go-home vibe to it, and that's what it was. It was a go-home show, but I think just that mixed with the crowd, being extremely flat. This was a pre-recorded episode of SmackDown, so, it was the same venue as the week before. They'd obviously just sat through last week's SmackDown. They got to sit through this one as well. I use the term "got to sit through" because recently that has been sort of almost a chore with with SmackDown. Yeah, in terms of this particular episode, I think just because the crowd was so flat, I think it just made a lot of moments on this show maybe not really hit as well as they could have done, perhaps. And yeah, I don't know, just a couple of things here and there that didn't really make it an overly great show for me personally. But yeah, in terms of Survivor Series, we do go into that one next, so we'll see how everything from this show correlates into that. So for now, everybody, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. If you've liked what we've done here today, then please consider hitting a like on our video, subscribing to our channel, and to keeping up with future releases coming up very, very soon. We're always doing things over here, and it's a very busy period with all the wrestling going on. We'd love to hear what you're thinking, about what we're doing, about the show generally speaking as well, what you thought of SmackDown, how excited you are for Survivor Series and things like that. So if you could, let us know in the comments what you're thinking, maybe let us know how we're doing as well. We'd love to hear your feedback, and yeah, anything that's good, bad, different, we'd love to hear it. But for now, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody, and goodbye for now.